Welcome back to the Garden Girls podcast. Things are a little bit different today. I'm taking over. Meg and Amy are taking a break, but I have good news. We actually have our first ever podcast guest today. Brooke is freaking hilarious. I have to say, Brooke is probably one of the most feral people that I know on the internet, and I want to be her. I want to be Brooke. I really do. She's spectacular. Her handle is what Brooke grows. And I'm gonna pick her brain today. So, Brooke, how are you doing?
I am so good. I'm so excited to be here. I have to just totally give some love to the pod real quick because I listen to every single one and I actually watch them while I'm making dinner. And sometimes I'll catch myself responding to you guys like I'm in the room, like we're all just hanging out. And so for example, last week when Amy was talking about clay soil, I started in my head, I was like, oh, well, you should do this and you should do this. And I started and I was like, Brooke, they can't hear you. Like they don't know.
No.
And so in my head, I'm in the room with you guys. Or one of your very first episodes, they were the other girls were talking about you and your spreadsheets.
Yes.
And they were like, just let go of the spreadsheets. And I was like, no. I was like, spreadsheets are everything. And so it was one of those things where I find myself talking to you guys all the time.
Yes.
It's so yeah, I love the podcast. I have been a fan, since you guys launched it, and I am so
Oh,
pumped to be the first guest.
thank you.
I feel this very, large honor of, why me? But also I'm like, "Let's ride." You know what I
No,
mean?
you're perfect for it. Honestly, you're an honorary garden girl. You're always messaging me hot takes on the pod, and I freaking love it. You are our biggest fan, and that is so great.
I also
I don't know
have
what
no
I'm doing.
shame.
I'm just you're just you guys are great. I'm like, cool. I am in my pajama pants. I don't know what I'm doing.
I'm very much I will DM anyone. I don't care how famous you are. I don't care how many followers you have. If I have something to say, and it's not negative, positive
Yes.
things, I will just shoot my shot and DM people and be like, "Oh." I mean, sometimes I feel like when people actually do finally respond, there's probably a string of DMs before that
Right.
they've not, you know what
Right.
I mean?
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I'm like, do I look that crazy?
No, I
Probably,
think it's
yes, and
so
I'm okay with it.
you're brave and you're bold, and I need to be more like you. I don't know if you just don't have social anxiety, but I'm envious of the way you interact on the internet.
I
You
think just you know what it is? I just why not shoot your shot?
you're right.
There's just I don't know, maybe it's just I have, some life experiences that have made me just very much be like, "What's the worst that's gonna happen?"
Mhm, mhm.
Some stranger that you've never met thinks you're weird and just never responds. "Oh, cool. You great. The worst thing you got was silence."
Exactly, exactly.
Nobody's ever gonna respond and be like, "Please don't ever DM me again, you creep." It's if you're being nice and, normal, you know what I
No,
mean?
no,
So
I
it's
totally
just
hear you.
that's why, yeah, I'll shoot my shot at just about anything. It's I don't know that it's the healthiest thing in the world, but that's probably how I ended up with my fiancé, so
I
I think
love
it's
it.
worked out. I think it's worked
Yeah,
out.
as long as you're happy, I mean, that's all that matters. Well, I
Oh, yeah.
found your account because of your feral gardening tours, and that was the moment that I was like, "Brooke and I have to be friends," obviously. I mean, talk about being brave on the internet. You literally just go out there,
Yeah.
you're like, "Here's everything that's wrong."
Yeah.
And people need to hear that, and I think that it resonated with, so many people, obviously, but, can you tell me, how that came about? How did you decide you wanted to do a feral garden tour?
Yeah, so funny enough, me and my sister talk all the time. She's one of my best friends and she's been one of my biggest advocates of my gardening content. And her and I were chatting one morning and everything was going wrong. I was so frustrated with the garden. I was so just mad at it. And I was just telling her how frustrated I was and I was not really wanting to make content and but I was like, content makes me happy and it's also kind of helps distract me and relax me from wedding planning, which is a whole other topic. But
Mhm.
and she goes, "Well, Brooke, why don't you just go out there and be your feral self and just talk and make it funny?" And I had also been getting served a lot of tradwife content.
Oh.
So what I did was I kind of and I'm sure when my followers watch this, they're gonna laugh because I'm like revealing my dirty little secrets. But I literally took the trending audio from the Tradwife like influencers because then it'll like show up on other people's feeds, right?
Perfect.
And I kind of modeled that like very deadpan, like, welcome, like that thing. And then I just the words don't match the tone and they
Right.
don't match the audio. And so my whole goal in making these feral garden tours was to disrupt people who were like in the Tradwife getting that content and really just kind of show them what the real deal was.
You're growing your own wedding
I
flowers.
am.
You have a backup plan, which is
I do.
good news, I think,
Yes.
from what I've heard. I'm a little bit, I mean, not to make this
Nervous.
ominous, but whoa, my anxiety could never. So I want to know
Yeah.
everything. Are you scared? Are you scared?
I yes, less scared than I was maybe a couple weeks ago. I will say that. The things that really matter to my fiance and I for a wedding. Obviously, people are like, "You're a gardener, flowers." And I'm like, "Yes and no." But I love food. I really wanted good food and I really wanted a live band because my fiance, these are actually his recording headphones because he was a lead
Oh,
singer in a band. He's very musical.
okay.
Yeah. And so, those were the 2 things that we really wanted to put our money towards. So when it came to a florist, uh, wow, if you've
Mm,
never planned a wedding and they deserve every penny they get for the record, but, like, that's just not where we were that's not really where we wanted to put our money.
right.
So I was like, "Well, I can just do our flowers." I designed and executed, the flowers for my sister's wedding a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And so I kind of already had like a flavor of what it was gonna be like and all that stuff. But then, of course, because, I have all the brain cells in the world, I go, why not stop there? Why should I enjoy my life before my wedding?
No.
Why shouldn't I just grow my own wedding flowers?
It's like every time you talk about it, my jaw drops to the floor because of the bravery required. Like I just oh my god.
Yeah.
I was a wedding photographer for very many years and like I've seen many people do many things for weddings. I've never seen somebody grow their own wedding flowers and
Yeah.
I just thinking about the chaos that surrounds like the weeks and months before your wedding,
Mhm.
adding that you're like, yeah, yeah, this is I did
Yeah,
this to myself.
I sure
But
did. Yeah. So we're 30 days out from when I would need to cut them.
okay, gotcha.
So, we're, like, more like 32 days out from the actual wedding, but,
Gotcha.
am I scared? A little bit. I always planned on having a backup plan, and I always told myself that, like, if I need to go get, a bajillion white roses from Costco, then I'm just gonna be okay with that, you know what I mean? Like, I went into this telling myself that, like, you have to be okay with the backup plan. You just have to. That's just a requirement, and so I told myself that, and I am totally okay with that. I always had a plan to use, Flower Moxie for my bouquets.
Okay.
So, my bouquets were always covered, like, that wasn't a big deal.
Tell the story of the sunflowers because we were DMing about this and I
We
was
were.
like, so scared. I was scared. I was scared. Like,
I I will say I'm taking everybody on, like, this very dramatic ride with me, you know
you
what I mean?
are.
Like, I am diabolically
And
like,
thank you for that.
we're all gonna be stressed about this collectively together. So I've actually been trialing sunflowers for, like, a long time. I've been engaged for, by the time we get married, it's almost 2 years. It's like 22 months. So,
Okay.
I've had multiple seasons to, like, trial this, and I've made all these meticulous notes about, when I should cut them, how early I should start them. Like, like, nailed the process in,
I
you
love
know?
this.
And then, of course, when it was time for execution, the world looked at me and said, "Ha ha." And so basically, I had planned all these sunflowers. I trialed them last fall, so, like, the exact timing that I would need, right? I trialed them again in the spring, had loads of success. I did it all in the same spot that I was always planning on growing them, like, the whole kit and caboodle.
Perfect.
Well, then, I went to go plant these sunflowers, and they, like, weren't germinating. And
Oh,
I was like,
no.
"That's weird because I've literally done this 3 times, like, why? What is going on?" So previously, we had had some issues with rodents and our sweet potatoes. So I mulch pretty heavily, that's one of my, like, garden practices. So what I realized was this little rodent was eating the sunflower seeds, and I couldn't see they're black, the sunflower seeds are
Right.
black. So unless you got right up next to the soil, you couldn't
The
see it. You
damage.
couldn't see the
No.
damage.
No.
And so finally when I realized what had happened, I was like, "Oh my god." I was devastated is kind of an understatement because I had sowed those seeds in that spot twice.
That's brutal.
It was brutal, and I had the timing, like, dialed in,
I'm
right?
sure you're like, "I was ready. I was born for this
Ready.
moment."
So
Yes.
ready. So then I go, "Okay, you know what?" My last ditch attempt at these crazy sunflowers, because sunflowers are my favorite color. I found these beautiful white ones. It was Pro Cut Plum, White Night, and White Light. And then
Gorgeous.
there was, like, this really dark, kind of, like, reddish purple one. And the whole theme for the flowers is, like, black, cream, and white.
Oh, that's amazing.
Amazing, and I'll tell you why in a couple minutes. So, I realize that this has happened, and I go full psycho. I don't care how much money, I don't care what I need to do to make this work. I overnighted seeds from Johnny's.
Hell hath
Over
no fury.
I over I paid too much money to overnight seeds from Johnny's, and I was laughing because it was like 4 seed packets. And I
I
was
know.
like, "Whoever pulled this order and, like, saw that it was an overnight order
It's
probably is like."
emergency.
Yes, like, I hope whoever packed that order said, "Wow, okay, I hope this works out." So then I got the little coconut coir pucks that you,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
soak in
so
water that
you
expand.
DM me, you're like, "I
Yeah,
have an idea."
yeah,
It involves coconut coir puffs.
yes,
I'm
and you were
like,
like, "This woman is
I
crazy."
I don't know about that. I don't know about so you're like, "I'm gonna liquid fertilize the shit
Yes.
out of them."
Yep,
I
yeah,
was like,
so
"I have never heard of this as a thing, but
as
sure."
yeah, honestly, neither have I. So, it was just my psychotic plan that in my brain, I was like, "This is gonna work."
And I
And
believed you.
I believed me, and I shouldn't have. So I, like, soak these pucks, I'm so ready. I, like, sow all my little seeds, I'm all meticulous, and I'm like, "I'm gonna, figure this out." So then I should have listened. You should always listen to people when they try and help you. I think it was either my mom or my sister goes, "Oh, okay, so you're gonna start them under your grow lights."
Yeah.
I literally have my grow lights in my closet in my office, right? And I was like, "No, no, no, I'm gonna put them outside, like, on an elevated surface, and I'm gonna surround them with rodent traps,
So they're
girl."
booby trapped.
They are
Yeah.
booby trapped. They are elevated, they are booby trapped, and guess what? They still
They
got eaten.
I believe it.
They still got eaten. I was devastated, and I realized it the morning I had to go into my office for my corporate job. It was, like, a Friday morning,
No,
and
no,
it was, like, end of quarter stuff, and I
no.
was literally, like, all dressed up to the nines, about to get in the car for, like, a 45-minute drive, and I go out to check, and they had been germinating the night before. They had literally been, like, just starting to pop
They
up.
always wait. They're like, "The nutritional content will be higher if I let this sprout before I eat it."
God, I
They know.
know. It
They
was
know.
so I, like, saw it, and I literally called my mom, and I didn't actually cry, but I think I don't really respond with tears the first time. I tend to respond with, like, expletives, which is probably
Sure.
not surprising if you've seen
Rage.
literally any of my content. Yeah, I was, like, low key devastated. So, that happened. We're now
Good.
pivoting.
You're pivoting.
So, I don't wanna give too much away 'cause people will find out,
Yes.
and so we have a pivot, things are happening. I hate to leave a cliffhanger, but you'll have to stay tuned.
But so you're also it looked like you're also filming this for a YouTube video,
I
right?
am, yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
I
it's gonna be a
actually
cumulative thing.
I started filming from, like, literally when I started planting the zinnias. So I guess I should review what I planted.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
so the whole theme is, black, which getting black flowers is hard. So it's black, white, and cream. And originally, the color palette was, like, colors everywhere, right? Like, I was gonna have my bridesmaids in jewel tones, we were gonna have all these different
Gorgeous.
colored flowers, like, just color everywhere. I had all these plans for, like, all these super colorful flowers. And then I go to my fiance's final suit fitting with him, and I thought he was getting, like, a really dark green, like, pine colored suit jacket.
Sounds really nice.
Super nice. It was much lighter green than I expected.
Okay.
So, kind of our color is emerald. There are emeralds in my ring. Emeralds are his birthstone. Green's my favorite color, right? Like, we have all this stuff about green.
I see.
Yes, and so his suit jacket was much more of like a much lighter, like, emerald, almost like a grassy green, like that
Okay.
real much lighter vibrant green, and it's got tuxedo details, and he's got, like, tuxedo detail pants and, like, looks amazing. When I first saw it, I admittedly, I was not a very good fiancé when I first saw it. I couldn't in my head put this in with the rest of what I had already,
Yeah.
like, envisioned, right? And so at first I was yeah, I wasn't a very good partner at first. But then after many a chat that day,
Mm.
we, he looked at me and I'll never forget. He said, "Brooke, you got to go shopping for your wedding dress and that was how like you decided that that's what you wanted to get married in. And when I saw this color and we started like putting together this suit, this is what I like envisioned myself marrying you in." And I was like, "Well, shit, when you say it like that."
Right? When you, like, challenge me and hold me to my own standards.
I
How dare
know, I
you?
know, and honestly, like, wow, I'm so excited for him to wear it, like, he's gonna look amazing,
I'm
and, like,
sure.
it's gonna be so great, and he's, like, got kinda, like, reddish tint to his hair and his beard, so it's so complimenting.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah. He's gonna look amazing, but I do have to be honest that I was not at
It was an
first.
adjustment.
It was an adjustment. But then, actually, weirdly enough, coming back to the flowers, I
Yes.
was talking to my sister about it when I was just trying to figure out, like, okay, how do we pivot? Because if you have all of a sudden now everything's bright colors,
Yeah.
and that just feels really visually to me overwhelming. And so my sister was like, hold on, why don't we just like tone everything else back? Just do like black, white, and cream.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I was like, "Oh, that's a great idea." I have been more excited since we pivoted the colors, and I instantly started picking flowers, like, just
That's
boom,
so
boom, boom. Like,
good.
it just came so naturally, which
Yeah.
for me, I'm very much like, when it comes naturally, it means it's meant to be. Like,
Yeah.
that's kinda my
Same.
thing. The actual varieties I'm growing, Kilimanjaro white marigold. So
Are
it's
those
like
the really tall ones?
they're really tall, they're
Okay.
super fluffy,
Yep.
like, they have a lot of texture. Those just started to bloom. So,
Nice.
I've been pinching blooms so that we can, like, so that we can encourage more growth. Then there's also a white swan marigold that's, like, more of, like, kind of the pom-pom
Oh,
kinda,
yeah.
like, shape. And then there's Berneri's giant white zinnia, which is a really
Oh.
nice, like, fluffy zinnia. They do have this really interesting, like, green cast to them.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I'm not worried about it. And then so there were those. I have an Audrey white gomphrena.
Gumtrina is so pretty. I just grew it
So
for the
pretty.
first time this year.
Did you?
Yeah, and it's, like, really I don't know, I have to Google this, but it seems like it's, like, really cold hardy because we've had multiple
Yes.
frosts, and it's like, "I'm fine.
Yeah.
What's your problem?"
Yeah, no, I grew gomphrena for the first time last year and it was like this beautiful magenta color and
Mm.
it just like wouldn't die. And I
No.
mean, we don't it I'm in Central Texas, so like we definitely get freezes.
Yeah.
I mean, not a ton of them, but like when it freezes, it's frozen.
Mhm.
So, yeah, gomphrena seems really hardy,
It
which is
does.
weirdly surprising. Well, and my wedding's in December, so, like,
Right.
I don't think we're gonna have a frost, but, like, there's a chance, which makes this whole thing more psychotic.
You just
Just,
have to have that element of danger. I always say
you
you
know,
need an element of danger to
I
make
do
things interesting.
I do thrive on a little adrenaline, which
Yeah.
is probably a problem. And then I have a couple varieties of snapdragons. One is called Chantilly White, one is called something else that's ivory, I don't know. And then some strawflowers, vintage white strawflowers and red purple strawflowers. Now those
Beautiful.
I'm a little confused about.
Okay, why?
So I put on my Instagram. I was like, when do the strawflowers start to like show their color?
Oh,
Because
they don't do that's
what I-
not
what I thought were strawflowers is actually gomphrena.
true.
Somebody messaged me and they were like, "Hey, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but those aren't strawflowers.
No.
Those are gomphrena." And I was like, "Well, shit, where are my
Where are the
strawflowers? They're somewhere. I don't. They're out there. They're somewhere." I have no idea.
they'll show
Which
their face when they feel like it.
they'll show up. I think I might have gotten the gomphrena and the strawflowers swapped.
I see.
Yeah. So now I think I know. but I'm also like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what's happening out there. I just work here. That's like my whole
Oh,
attitude with the
yeah. Oh,
garden is
yeah.
like, people think I'm in charge. I just work here. Like, I'm just
No, that's
part of the system. So then the sunflowers that I was gonna grow that, like, I did get some of them. Some of them did germinate.
okay,
We
good.
we might get some sunflowers. I just wanna
Good.
put that out there. But it's
They'll be
like
the best 5 sunflowers.
those are going straight in my bouquet.
Absolutely.
So, the flowers I was gonna do is Pro-Cut Plum, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous sunflower. White Knight, which is a white petaled and then dark centered sunflower.
Ooh.
And then there's White Light, which is like an ivory petal with like a whitish green center.
Oh my gosh.
And then the last one was, a Pro-Cut Red, but it's like a really dark red purple.
I just Googled
So
this while you were talking. It's so pretty. It's so
which one?
dark.
Pro-Cut Plum oh, no,
The
the
red and then the pro cut what was the other pro cut one you
Pro-Cut
said?
Plum.
Yes. So
Pro-Cut Plum is
good.
stunning.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love
So
it.
that was the plan for the flowers. Like I said, it's like it's working out in some ways, it's not working out in some ways, but there is a backup plan. We're on this roller coaster together.
And
So,
that's what I love, like, I feel like your page is my favorite because of your stories, and, like, stories are kind of, like, dead to me in a way, like, I don't
yeah.
watch people's stories because they just don't hold my attention,
Yeah.
but I'm always like, "Oh, Brooke's posted something, I need to sit back. Where's my
Sh
drink?" Like, we need
sh
to just
she's got something to
enjoy this.
say.
Like, I mean, I know we have Feral Fridays where
We
you're
do.
you have a specific rant that you're doing, which I still think you need to be saving those as TikToks because they're just so good. Like, you're just putting thoughts out there, and I'm like, "I don't think like this. I need more people in my life who think differently than me so that I can think better and differently," you know?
There's a certain level of comfort I have that, like, I'm not a full-time content creator, like, full stop. I have a 9 to 5. I am a corporate girly. So I don't necessarily, like I'm not gonna go out and say, like, crazy stuff on the internet, but, like, I also don't have the, like, same approach as if, like, it was my job.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
little different, and, like, especially Feral Friday, like, sometimes we're arguing about what constitutes as a smoothie. Sometimes we're talking about body image and, like, weird wedding trends. Ugh, I'm ready for those rants to be over,
Oh,
let me tell
man.
you.
I know. You must be really in the thick of it with all of that. I can only imagine.
Now I feel like I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna go make content that makes me feel good and makes me laugh," and I always pass it by my sister, who's, like, my biggest cheerleader. I feel like it kinda helps me make content that feels authentic to me
Yeah,
instead of just, like, repeating what other people are doing on the internet, you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
I feel like you and Amy and Meg all have, like, very original content. Like, it's very
Mhm.
much, like, ideas from your own brains, it's not just, like, repeating trends.
We talk about that a lot. And actually, I was just talking to Amy yesterday about like having a no scroll rule because we use Instagram. Obviously, we have to like interact and engage and we want to be
Sure.
involved with our community, but it's mostly in
Yeah.
DMs, honestly. Like, I don't
Yeah.
need to be just mindlessly scrolling. I'm sure this is true in other niches, but in gardening, like, of course, we're all going to be talking about the same things around the
Totally.
same times, too.
Yep.
And so to come up with a way to be unique, it's, like, really difficult. So it almost has to be,
Yeah.
like, more about, like, you in a way and,
Yeah.
like, what problem you're solving or what you're making relatable for other people. Like, I don't wanna just do a video about leaf mold. I wanna tell you why I think leaf mold makes
Yeah.
gardening more accessible or something like that, you know?
Right.
It's tricky.
It is. It's tricky, and, like, even it's funny we got on this topic because I, the other day, put out a reel on Instagram about planting garlic, and it's hilarious because the whole moral of the story of this whole reel is to not beat yourself up about things you don't know about. Like, it was
Yeah.
supposed to be very, like, motivating and be like, because I messed up growing garlic for years. I wouldn't dry it, and so
Oh,
the cloves wouldn't, like, separate,
yeah.
so I was like, "Oh, it's just like me, I can't grow garlic," and then finally this year, I heard Carmen in the garden be like, "Oh, and I'm gonna dry it for however long, so the cloves
Thank
will
God for
separate."
Carmen.
And I was like, "Is that how that works?" And so I did it, and it worked great. And so I start, like, talking in this reel about growing garlic and how I, like, totally messed it up and all this stuff. The amount of people who jumped into the comments trying to give me advice about growing garlic, I was like, "Oh, you guys didn't finish watching. You guys
That
didn't finish listening." Like, you put 10 seconds in and you decided I didn't know what I was talking about and that I don't know how to grow garlic, and you didn't
yeah,
finish the video. And actually the same thing with one of my most recent, like, viral feral garden tour. A lot of people being like, "You have too much nitrogen in your soil." And I'm like, or I just, like, strategically filmed this. I strategically filmed it at a time where, like, things weren't blooming yet,
yeah,
like, maybe it was maybe it was strategic, So, I'm about to do my first soil test. It spurred me into, I'm like, "Fine. Let's see if my soil is too high in nitrogen." Like, "Okay, sure." Like, "Why not?"
yeah.
So yeah, I literally got the soil test in the mail, like, yesterday. So,
Oh my
it's
god.
just yeah, watching things grow and, like, interacting is really interesting. I tend to be a little, um not super reactive. If you catch me on the right day and it's like a crappy
Right.
comment, I'll
Same.
I'll have feelings about it, but most of the time it's fine. And honestly, I don't get that much like negative stuff.
Yeah, I don't either. I feel like at the very beginning, I was kind of in like the more homesteady crowd than the
Yeah.
gardening crowd. And then I would get a
It's
lot of
different.
backlash. It's very different.
Yeah.
People are very critical. They want your values to align with their values. I would get comments about how I wore too much makeup, like all this stuff that was, I know.
The
So, but I
makeup I
think
put
I've
on
found
my
my people.
face. Yeah, and that's what it's funny you say that. My sister says that. She's like, "You have found your people finally, like your little corner of the internet." And for the most part, people are like just so amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, like people are just really, really wonderful.
How have people in your life reacted to you growing your own wedding flowers? Like, have there been negative reactions?
I don't think any that have been like wholly negative. I think it comes from a place of concern. So like I'm very much a person that I can count the number of people that I actually care about their opinion about me or what I'm doing in my life,
Thing.
and that fits on, like, one hand, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
there's other people that, like, I will certainly consider their opinion who know me really well, right? So, when I started telling people, like, "Oh, I really wanna grow my own wedding flowers," there was definitely a few people who were like, "You sure about that?"
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, 'cause I'm a listen, I'm a dreamer, and I don't, like, live in La La Land, like, I very much live in reality, but I'm certainly a dreamer, and, but I'll put in the work to, like, make my dreams happen. I think their concerns were just from a place of concern. It wasn't from a place of, like, not believing in me, it was from a place of, like, "We want you to have this beautiful, amazing day."
Of course.
And, like, this is gonna make your life way more stressful. So, like, you super
But you're
duper
like,
sure
I
about this?
I know, and I'm doing it anyway.
And I'm doing it anyway. But I will say now that, like, things are kinda progressing, like, I people are, like, jazzed. And I will say my Instagram followers, every time I post, like, an update, people are DMing me and they're like, "Oh my god, we're so excited." Like,
You're also giving people like the chance to see, like, no, you really can do a hard thing just because you want
yeah,
to, and it could be kind of fun if it works out. Like, especially when it comes to like limiting beliefs. I think
yeah,
that, like, in gardening, with new gardeners, especially, like, limiting beliefs are a huge problem that people face. They're like, "I don't even wanna try because
yes.
what if I fail?" You're like, "What if I
Who
fail?"
cares? What if you fail? What if you fail? Like, okay, let's talk about like, okay, let's chat through like what
Please.
if I fail? Because
Yes.
I feel so strongly about this. Okay, a terracotta pot at the store is what?
Yes.
Like $7, okay? Let's
If
say you
that.
want to
Yeah.
plant some basil. All right. Let's say you have a $7 investment in the pot. Let's say you get a small bag of soil that's another, call it $7 for easy math. We're up to $14, okay? You can get a very healthy basil start for like 3 or $4. So for under $20, you can try a new hobby and try a new thing for under $20.
And what is crazy about this is, like, we go to paint night, we don't expect to become, like, master painters, but we still spend the
No.
money because we're having fun and it's about the experience. But for some
Yes.
reason, when it comes to growing food, I think because we are so disconnected from the source of our food in a lot of cases, it feels very
Yeah.
foreign, it feels very intimidating. We all kinda
I
grew up finger painting as kids, but, like, not necessarily playing in the dirt, which is
well,
crazy.
and I also think we have this weird there's like this weird belief that food's supposed to be easy. ever since I became a gardener, I have so much more respect for farmers
Mm,
and, like, just all that kind of stuff because it's not easy. It is a skill that
it
you
is.
have to, like, develop. And I think that's what really limits people from wanting to start. I have a friend, that actually is coming over on Friday because I ordered some rose bushes. My great-grandfather was a very good gardener. Here, I keep this picture right by
Oh
my
my god. I love old pictures. Oh my god, that
so
is so cute.
that's my great-grandpa, and that's my grandma who's still alive, okay?
Oh,
And he was here's him and his potato patch.
oh my god, he had a potato patch.
Look at all of those. Isn't that
I wanna
wild?
be him. Oh
So,
my
I know,
god.
he was, my mom was super close with him. He planted a rose bush for every year that his wife was alive. So they
What?
had
Hold on.
swoon.
Hold on.
I know. I look at him. Look at that.
Uh,
And so he had 80 something rose bushes, and I have close-up pictures of some of them. I emailed these photos to Heirloom Roses, and they helped me find matching rose bushes. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
okay,
Uh,
this is like unlocking a whole new type of garden. It's like oh my god, that's like my favorite one. It's like an heirloom garden, like a legacy garden. Like that is
yes.
not even I mean, you hear about people like when they move, they dig up a plant, they bring it with them, but this is like a whole nother level.
My friend, her middle name is Rose, and I was telling her about this, and she was like, "Oh my god, I've always wanted to, like, learn more about growing roses and all this stuff," and I was like, "Girl, they get delivered on Friday. I want you to
Be
come
here.
over. Yeah, come over, help me plant them, like, we'll do the whole thing," and she's so excited. So I think it's, like, kinda going back to the self-limiting beliefs, I think it really takes somebody, like, holding your hand and, like, telling you it's gonna be okay. Like, if you are
It's
somebody who's
true.
more hesitant to, like, just do it, you know? I clearly will jump into shark-infested waters face first, you know what I mean? I have, like, no sense of self-preservation, I don't understand it. I want people to just try it. Just
That's the
do it.
thing, like, you just have to try, and like I'm always saying, like, there's no failures in the garden, there's only lessons.
No. I've been gardening for 8 years, 5 years, like, on a big scale. And here I am, I screw stuff up all the time.
Yeah, me
Every
too.
day. Every day. I just ripped out a bunch of tomato plants that were big and healthy and beautiful because, I didn't trellis them right. Whatever rodent that's been ravaging my life
Oh,
decided
this
to
rodent, we got a
Yes,
problem.
yes, we do. Maybe not for long, but I'm on the hunt for this. I am not that nice. You
He
guys all
disrespected you. Amy would be crying.
I know. You guys are all, like, so sweet when you guys talk about,
No, but
like,
if
pests and stuff, and I just, like, I every time you guys are talking about it, I'm like, "God, they're just so much nicer than me." Like, I will wage war. Like, I will. I don't know, I just
listen, if they like there are lines that can't be crossed, like, once you take the
Oh,
wedding
yeah.
flowers, all bets are off.
All bets are off. Like, we are
Yeah,
finished. So, the rose thing, I don't like to see my fence. I don't
I don't
know,
either,
like
yeah.
yeah, like, there's something about it that I love having one, trust me, because like, I live in a neighborhood, but I don't wanna see my fence. It's like this weird thing. So, on one side, we have grapevines that are very young and very sad looking right now, but that's okay. They will grow up to be big and
Give
strong.
them a year or 2, you'll never see the end of them.
Well, you know what? We got by whiteflies.
We don't have that problem here. I keep hearing this, and it's not yeah, I've never had to
Yeah.
deal with that.
No, we got by 'em pretty good, but,
Mhm.
ladybugs. Man,
Yeah,
release
yeah.
some ladybugs, and they went to town. So,
That's good.
anyways, we have grapevines, and then, along the back, so out like, right out our back, we just redid the windows this year, and we got big picture windows, so there's
Nice.
nothing, like, you're just and the whole thing was to be able to look out at the garden because that's what you see. But then you just see this, like, back fence, and I'm like, "That's gross." I don't wanna just look at a fence,
Not
especially
when
when,
you
like
could look at roses, I mean
well, so I planted blackberries. I was like, "Okay,
oh.
I'm gonna do, like, a fence of blackberries," that seems like a good idea. But then I kinda was like, "Okay, well, like, they don't I don't know, it's not very exciting, it's not colorful, like, they're there and they're big and bushy and
Yeah.
whatever, but, like, so I was Googling, like, what's a good companion plant to blackberries. Did you know actually, you do know this because you were just talking about it in your podcast, that blackberries are actually part of the rose family.
Yeah, but I didn't even think about that, making them a good companion plant. That's interesting.
So I'm like, "Oh my god." I could have a
Both.
Blackberry Rose, like, hedge, like a
And then you
living
can
wall.
make Blackberry Rose beverages.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
exactly. So I already had this idea, and then I got all these crazy pictures from my mom and my grandma, and I
So
was
you
like,
didn't even know before having this idea? Oh my gosh.
so I knew he had a rose garden, like, I
Yeah.
definitely knew that, but I didn't know to the extent, and
No, that's
I didn't realize they
expert
were like
level. That
these.
yeah.
Like,
No.
I and my mom started telling me she has all these wonderful memories of cutting roses and how fragrant they were and how she would wrap them in a wet paper towel and take them home, and I was like, it's like, "Well, that's just fucking delightful." I was
So
like,
delightful.
I want that."
I'm gonna have to keep an eye on this because I don't know anything about growing roses. Like
I don't either.
I love roses, but
Yeah.
they
I
scare me a little bit.
They scare me too, but then actually the, owner of our wedding venue, when we went for our tasting, um, my fiancé told her, was like, "Oh, like, Brooke's growing our wedding flowers, whatever," you know, and I'm sure she had an internal meltdown of
Of
like, "Oh my
course.
god, I'm gonna have a
Yeah.
panicking bride at my venue." But she actually was like, "Oh, what kind of flowers?" And we were talking about it. She goes, "Oh, I actually grow roses." And I was like, "Here?" Because you could grow a lot of, like, shrub roses here, like
Right.
landscape roses,
Yeah.
but I've never seen people grow, like, cutting roses, and so
Mhm.
I asked her, I go, "Well, are they, like, shrub roses?" And she's like, "No, no, no, they're, like, cutting roses," and I was like, "Tell me more." I was like, "So those work here?" And she was like, "Yeah." I mean, she was like, "They struggle in the summer, but, like, everything does."
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, that's true." So, yeah, I got some confirmation that it was gonna work before I, like, went all in, but I did kinda go all in.
It's just like you don't hold back
No,
literally at all. Like you're just like, I
never.
am doing this thing and I'm going to do it all of the way. And that is it.
Yeah. Well,
Finally.
I would like to think that I'm, like, informed
Yeah.
before I dive into the chaos, but,
Yeah.
like, there's sometimes I'm not, and that's alright. You know, like,
True. And there's
again.
only so much we can know before we start something.
Yeah, and I also feel like you have to be flexible, like, even when we were talking about spreadsheets earlier, like, okay, hold on, I have a question for you. This is your podcast, but I'm gonna ask you a question. So, okay, I think we're both, like, trying to be less type A in
Yeah.
the
A
garden.
little trying.
Okay.
Trying.
So, did you do any chaos sewing this year? Because,
I
man,
did.
Meg's the queen, and I just don't know how she does it. I have respect for it,
Oh,
for the record.
she yeah, no, she is the queen. She definitely inspired me and I just kind of like went for it. So this fall I like ripped out all the summer stuff to do my fall plantings and then
Yeah,
I had like a massive flare up because it's
okay.
just the time of year like October,
It
why not?
happens.
Why not die a little bit?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
of
literally
course.
have a YouTube video where I just like stand there and I'm like, well, you guys are gonna see me on my worst day now. Here we go. Like,
Let's ride.
so the way we're gonna do this is I'm gonna sit on my butt and I'm gonna just throw seeds around, like Meg said I
Oh
could.
my god, you literally did.
I chaos gardened my entire fall garden because of Meg and because of how badly I was feeling. And it is the prettiest garden I have ever freaking grown. I know she has a
Yeah.
video that she did for Epic where she did some like recipes and kind of went
Mhm.
into like combinations that work really well. And I didn't copy those, but I just kind of thought to myself, like, okay, I'm going to separate the bed into thirds because I'm type A and I can't just chaos garden. I have to like
No.
math this. So we have one third, and that's going to be three different plants that I like mix together and just sprinkle everywhere.
Ooh.
And then the next third is a
Okay.
different set of three, and the next third is a different set of three. Because that way I was able to say, like, okay, all three of these mature at different rates, or all three of these have very different sizes and aren't going to compete for space. So that was kind of like how I made those decisions. But I just literally had my bucket of seeds and I was sitting on my little garden seat, just like, I guess this might work. And it did. It totally did. Meg was right. Like, I don't always need a spreadsheet, apparently. I will say in the
Yeah.
spring, it's harder for me because I'm usually using a lot of starts from the nursery. And
Yeah.
in the fall, it's really hard for me to find starts for from the nursery here. They
Interesting.
just have lettuce and kale and broccoli. That's it. So I
Huh.
like to have a lot more variety. Because I was only using seeds, it's a lot easier to chaos garden when you're only using seeds.
So I had a similar, not with, like, the chronic pain, but similar. I'm so overwhelmed with, like, wedding, working full time, trying to maintain
Of
my life and
course.
my friendships and everything. I was like, "I have to start getting my seeds in the ground, like, right now." And normally, I'm like a succession sowing queen.
Yes. Color
Like,
code that. Yes.
color coded dates. I have
Yep.
reminders that go off on my phone that are like, "It's time," and I'm like, "You're right." And so I am just very regimented about it. And I did film a YouTube video, and I will nobody will ever see the footage because you can tell I'm just, like, angsty and pissed. You can just
Oh.
tell. Oh, I am, like, very much not my best self. Like, it's not even funny.
Oh.
"Oh, she needs to go to the spa for a weekend." I literally said, "Fuck it." And I mixed radish and beet seeds together, dumped them into my hand and went, and then mix them up, and then I just spread them, and I was like, "Alright, well, let's see what happens." And then I couldn't quite so I have a big, like, 16-foot bed,
Yeah.
has drip, like, every, like I think it's 18 inches? I don't
Mhm.
know, Cam set it up for me. Moral of the story, I chaos sewed, but, like, in sections. So, like,
That's fair. See? You have to
this section
compromise.
this section's, like, celery, and then here's lettuce, and then here's carrots, like, it's
Oh, I
still
know.
very but
Yeah.
I didn't at least, like, agonize over putting the seed in the soil. I
And it's
just
crazy, like, especially beginners obsess over seed depth and, like, it
obsess.
seems to really not matter most of the time. Like, obviously, like, a snap pea needs to be pretty deep, a big seed, but
Yeah,
all your brassicas are gonna go either on the surface or just below. Like, I will literally sprinkle it on the surface and then just, like, scratch it in, and they're
yeah.
fine. Like, everything's fine.
That's the
They
same
work.
exact thing that I do because I will, like, kinda low key agonize over starting seeds, like, especially fall brassicas because the seeds are so teeny tiny.
So tiny.
And I'm, like, over here, again, in my little gremlin office, and, like, between corporate meetings, I'm, like, misting them so they stay, like, moist, and I'm like, "Why am I doing this to myself?" Like, what So, yeah, I know we're recovering type A gardeners, but,
The garden has a lot to teach me, let me tell you.
every day, girl, every day, and I also think there's something to be said for, like, knowing when to follow the rules and when to not follow the rules.
Absolutely. When I started learning photography, we talked a lot about, like, learning the rules so you know when to break them. Because, like, yes, there are some fundamentals that you need to know, but, like, once you know them, they don't always apply, and especially because everyone's climate and circumstances are so different. There just can never be one size fits all with
No,
gardening.
no. Well, and
Yeah.
even in Central Texas, we have so many microclimates, like,
Oh, I bet.
my my parents live 60 miles north of us. Their temperature degree difference sometimes is, like, 10 to 20 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah, they get a lot more wind, which means they have a lot more wind chill, like, it is the microclimates in Central Texas are honestly wild, and
No.
so it's yeah, like, knowing the rules, but also, I learned so much at my community garden with people that had been gardening in this area for, like, 20 or 30 years,
Yeah.
They were not always nice about their delivery, about educating me, but
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
oh, I got stories for days. They're all wonderful. I love them all. But
Tough
yeah, it
love.
was definitely tough love in the garden. Yeah, no. And they just no punches pulled. But yeah, I think that's important to know. And it's funny when you and I were DMing about like knowing when to break the rules, what you didn't know was at work in my professional job. I'm the highest individual contributor on my team. And
Mm.
I work with really large customers. And my manager, imagine managing somebody like me, first of all. I tell her all the time how much I appreciate her. And she's also a little feral.
Good.
And I would always ask why. Like I am a context person. So like I'm like a 4-year-old. I'm like, why?
Yeah,
Tell me
yeah.
why. And finally, I actually gave a presentation to our entire team titled "How to Know When to Break the Rules." And so it's so funny that you said that to me because in my professional world, I'm the same way. I'm like, I want to know why so that I know when to follow and when to break. And I
Exactly.
think like that's so important as a gardener. The internet's going to tell you one thing, but nothing replaces your lived experience.
You just gotta
Not
do it, take
one
note,
thing.
learn from it.
Yeah, that's literally all you can do.
Okay, I think we're gonna wrap it up there, but thank you so much, Brooke, for chatting with me today. It was so much fun. And you can find us if you aren't already subscribed on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.